Hey all, Carpetbagger here, coming to you live from the South. More specifically, the state of Tennessee. More archaically, the state of Franklin. And more specifically than that, Erwin, Tennessee. This is a town with a dark, frightening past. A past that I've talked about in previous videos. And this past involves the execution of an elephant. Big Mary the elephant. You see here, the story goes that there was the Sparks Brothers Circus was traveling through the area in nearby Kingsport, Tennessee. And they had hired an elephant trainer. Apparently, Sparks Brothers was kind of a rundown, old rickety circus. They hired a drifter known as Red Eldridge to be Mary's trainer, and Red did not know anything about elephants. So they were having a parade before the circus where all the performers marched down the street along with Mary, and Red smacked Mary with a stick. And Mary did not enjoy being smacked with a stick, so she grabbed Red, threw him to the ground, placed her foot on his head, and then squished it like a watermelon. Children in the crowd were horrified as they just watched a man have his head squished like a watermelon. So anyway, Mary goes on, performs in the circus as usual, but people in the town were unhappy. They did not like that a man was murdered. They did not like that their children witnessed such a murder. And then it was devised that Mary would have to be executed. And they decided that they would do that at the next show. It would be a new attraction to the circus. They would have the circus, but before then, they would have an execution of an elephant. And now, how do you execute an elephant? There's actually been quite a few executed elephants over the years. It's kind of a dark part of American history where you can see all these different elephants that have been put down, because elephants do often lash out and kill people because they don't like being kept in captivity. I know there was an elephant out, I think, in California that had been electrocuted to death. There was one in Indiana who they shot to death. Apparently they tried both these methods with Mary, but she was too big. It did not kill her. So they came up with the next logical thing, and that they were going to hang Mary. Hang an elephant. So they came over here to Erwin, where they had a big railroad yard just right over there. And they hooked a big railroad winch up, wrapped it around Mary's neck, and lifted her in the air. And the chain actually broke, and she plummeted and collapsed on the ground. But they strung her back up, lifted her up, and hung her until she was dead. And one photograph was taken on that day of this incident. It's a very disturbing photograph. I'm not going to put it here, but if you want to look it up, Google Mary the elephant, and you will find it without much problem. It is a picture of Mary being hung by the neck. A very surreal, very disturbing picture. So, Mary was pushed into a grave over by the railroad yard. I think I did another video where I think I located where I believe she is buried. But things are funny here in Erwin because people don't like this history, or have traditionally not liked this history. I went to a local history museum, tried to get information. They simply would not discuss it with me. And that's kind of been the feeling in Erwin, is that they are not, or they were not proud of what happened here. They were not proud. They didn't want to be known as the town that murdered an elephant, with one exception. The store behind me. What is it now? It is Chip's Thrift Store. This was apparently was a thrift store before. It was known as the Hanging Elephant, and their logo was actually based off that notorious picture of Mary. And it used to be right here on this wall. They had a painting of Mary hanging by her neck, which I'm sure bothered a lot of people. The people that did not want this to be known as the town that killed the elephant. A few years passed. The thrift shop closed down, and they repainted it. Interestingly enough, it was a picture of a little girl hanging. I think she was hanging. I think God was holding a swing and holding her. I think they almost based it off the hang. Interesting, like made it into something positive, hanging from a swing instead of by a noose. So, hang on, let me cross back over here and get a look at that thrift shop. They have a Dr. Enough machine, which is really cool. And so anyways, in 2016, last year, that was the 100th year for Mary the Elephant, where she had been hung. And Irwin did something really fascinating, and that they set out to right the wrong that had happened 100 years earlier. The 100 years of trying to whitewash their history. They in a way embraced it, but they turned it around. They turned a negative into a positive, and they had a parade dedicated to Mary right here on this street. That was actually apparently a one-year event. It's not, so no indication that would occur again. I definitely am bummed that I missed out on that. They had a giant fiberglass Mary that they paraded down the street. And the reason they did this was to raise money. All the proceeds went to fund an elephant sanctuary outside of Nashville. So a town that had been this black mark of murdering an elephant, of executing an elephant, they turned it into something positive and used Mary's death, the 100-year anniversary of Mary's death, to raise money to keep other elephants from being executed. Now, I don't know this for a fact, but I do know that a lot of elephants, even to this day, injure, hurt people, and those elephants obviously cannot be performing. Actually, I think most elephants don't perform nowadays because of the way they've changed and with the closing of the circus. So a lot of those elephants in the sanctuary may have actually hurt somebody or killed somebody. But it's odd to apply like human reasoning and human logic to the actions of an animal, a scared animal that's lashing out. So a redemption of sorts. This town has redeemed itself. They realized that you can't change history by ignoring it, but you can turn history around. You can not change it, but you can turn a negative into a positive. And that is what they've done here in Irwin. But that's not all. The town is almost now, in the past year, has taken on the elephant as almost its own symbol. And they continue to raise money for the elephant sanctuary. Check out the bear there. Anyways, this community has set out and placed little tiny elephants around town. Apparently these will be auctioned off to private sellers at the end of the summer. But right now we have elephants adorning the streets of the town that hung the elephant. This is Namu, I guess named after a Sumerian goddess that gave birth to the sky and sea. Oh, and there's the elephant sanctuary in Howell, Tennessee. Check out this super snazzy little guy. The little monocle right there and a top hat. That is one dapper elephant. I'm looking at this elephant right here. I'm seeing, I think this is like Noah's Ark, and it looks like these are all the animals leaving the Ark. Oh, these two elephants right here. Alright, so that is the little sleepy town of Irwin, Tennessee, and how they turned a negative into a positive. Back a couple years ago when I did a video here, it was still the time when you didn't talk about Mary. But things have changed. You could talk about Mary because Mary's death has been turned into a positive. She died, but now this town uses the legend of Mary to raise money for elephants in need. I believe there is another statue of Mary, so let's see if we can find that. So I really wanted to see the statue of Mary that is kept in storage. And so I ran into a lady over at, what was that, City Hall. And I'd actually realized we had communicated before on Facebook, and she told me that it was kept at the City Public Works. So I saw Irwin Utilities. There was a guy there on a forklift. I asked him if the elephant was there. He said no, the elephant's not there. I think it's in the city garage. So I've come down here to the city garage. The door is open. There's people coming in and out. Supposedly the elephant's in there. I'm gonna see if I can get in there and check out the statue of Big Mary. Okay, I'm inside City of Irwin Public Works. There's a guy fixing a cop car over there. Said the elephant's over this way. And there she is, back here in the Public Works garage. Big Mary, the elephant. There it is. One of the interesting things about this elephant here is it was actually created by the gentleman who runs Backyard Terrors Dinosaur Park, which is a little ways from here, but still in the same general area. Got a great dinosaur park that he's actually struggling to keep open because the city over there, it's a different city, Blountville. They're trying to shut him down, saying, you know, he's running a free amusement park out of his backyard. They're, you know, hitting him up with all sorts of regulations and whatnot. He did good work, and he did good work on this elephant here. All right, if you take anything from this channel, it's just be persistent and don't be afraid to ask. You know, from when I first started trying to find this elephant, I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to see it. But just ask around and tell people what you're doing, and they'll let you look at what you want. The worst thing they could do is say no. Although I do have to wonder, why is the elephant not on permanent display? I love everything City of Irwin has done, but they need to put that elephant on permanent display somewhere in the city. Now, Irwin, Tennessee isn't the only town in this area that was determined to wipe clean the stain on the history of the region that was the execution of Mary the Elephant. I am here at the prestigious Eastern Tennessee State University, and back a few years ago they had their own celebration of Mary. They brought in a renowned artist by the name of Dennis McNett, and Dennis created this, an effigy of Big Mary. Let's take a closer look. Now, this is made out of chicken wire and paper mache, so it is starting to decrode right there. As you can see, it was decorated very intricately with different patterns, different symbols. There's like a leopard eating a snake. So, no tail. So this was built in honor of the legend of Big Mary, the murderous elephant. And Dennis McNett had apparently a group that he called the Wolfbat Army come out, cover their faces in masks, dance around Mary, and throw colored powder on her as a cleansing ritual to resurrect the memory of Mary, to cleanse the ugliness of the past and give rebirth to Mary the elephant. It's like Irwin, Tennessee and Johnson City, Tennessee, where we currently are at the university, had very different ways of honoring Mary. But the important thing is that after 100 years, Mary not only gets the recognition she deserves, but sees the negativity that her hanging brought turned into a positive. Alright, I appreciate you guys watching. If you like these videos, please check down in the description. I have an interactive map where you can see where I have been and make suggestions on where I should go next. Also, if you want to support the channel, I sell t-shirts, and if you donate at least $3 on Patreon, I will send you a postcard roughly every month. And appreciate you guys watching. This one is in the bag.